On the night before his crucifixion, Jesus gathered with his disciples to share the Passover meal, known as the Last Supper. It was a meal that celebrated God's deliverance of the Israelites from slavery in Egypt, but this night, it would take on a new meaning. As they gathered around the table, the disciples had no idea that this would be their last meal with Jesus in this world. The atmosphere was heavy, for Jesus had already predicted his betrayal and the events that were to unfold. He knew that his time had come. During the Last Supper, Jesus, filled with sorrow, told his disciples that one of them would betray him. The disciples were shocked and asked, "Lord, is it I?" Jesus, knowing it was Judas Iscariot, replied, "The one who dips his hand in the bowl with me will betray me." Judas, who had already agreed to betray Jesus, asked, "Rabbi, is it I?" Jesus responded, "You have said so." Knowing that his betrayal was imminent, Jesus watched as Judas left to carry out his plan, while he continued speaking with the remaining disciples, filled with love and sorrow. Jesus broke the bread and gave it to his disciples, saying, "This is my body." He then gave them the cup of wine, saying, "This is my blood, poured out for the forgiveness of sins." With these words, Jesus established the sacrament of communion, the act that would remind his followers of his sacrifice. Jesus' body would be broken, and his blood would be shed for the salvation of mankind. During the meal, Jesus told his disciples that they would all fall away because of him. Peter, confident, insisted he would never do so, but Jesus replied that before the rooster crowed, Peter would deny him 3 times. Peter, in his confidence, insisted, "Even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you." And all the other disciples echoed the same sentiment. But Jesus knew their weaknesses, and though they would all desert him, he loved them still. After the supper, Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane with his disciples to pray. Overwhelmed with sorrow, he prayed to God, asking if it was possible to avoid his coming suffering, but always submitting to God's will. He prayed 3 times, each time surrendering to God's plan. "Not my will, but yours be done." Meanwhile, the disciples, weary from grief and fatigue, fell asleep. Jesus found them sleeping and said, "Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour?" He urged them to stay awake and pray so that they would not fall into temptation. Judas arrived with a crowd to betray Jesus, identifying him with a kiss. Jesus called him friend and said, "Do what you came for." When Peter tried to defend Jesus by striking a servant, Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Put your sword away. Those who live by the sword will die by the sword." Jesus questioned the crowd, asking why they came with weapons to arrest him when he had been teaching openly. He explained that this was to fulfill the prophets' writings. The disciples, fearful, fled, and Jesus was arrested and taken to the high priest's house for trial. At the high priest's house, false witnesses contradicted each other. When asked if he was the Messiah, Jesus replied, "I am," and prophesied his return. This led the high priest to charge him with blasphemy, condemning Jesus to death. While Peter was in the courtyard, a servant girl recognized him and accused him of being with Jesus, but Peter denied it. He denied Jesus 3 times, just as Jesus had predicted. When a rooster crowed, Peter remembered Jesus' words and wept bitterly. Early in the morning, Jesus was handed to Pilate, who, despite finding no fault, gave in to the crowd's demand for crucifixion. He was scourged, mocked, crowned with thorns, and crucified at Golgotha with a sign reading, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews." While hanging on the cross, Jesus prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." As the sky darkened, he cried out, "It is finished," and then gave up his spirit.